Now, please, everyone, stay with us for the next meeting in which Susan Little will be presenting a workshop under the title Think, Play and Learn, Writing Readiness for Early Learning School. Our guest is from the Learning Without Tears organization. She's a national certified occupational therapist and trained curriculum specialist in the Learning Without Tears program. Thank you very much, Mr. Richard, for your presence today. Ms. Susan?
Hi, I'm here.
Hello, can you please open your cam? So thank you. Yes.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Welcome to the fourth and last workshop for the day. Please start your presentation.
All right, that sounds great. Let me share my screen here for just a second.
Sure.
Let's see.
Mr. Richard, can you please close the cam? Thank you.
Bear with me 1 second.
Take your time, it's fine.
Here we go. Will you confirm that you can see the presentation?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So thank you for having me. Welcome to our presentation today, Sing, Play, and Learn, Writing Readiness for Early Learning Success by Learning Without Tears. So as you just heard, I am a national board certified occupational therapist. Just a little bit about me. In the past, I worked in a more clinical environment. I worked in an academic setting as well as in a medical-based setting, specializing in pediatrics. I've worked extensively with children using our programs particularly. And so today I'm excited to share this because I've personally witnessed some of the most life-changing transformations with children, both through my own use of our programs as a therapist and through my work with schools all over the world that use our programs. I'm so excited to be able to share creative teaching strategies with you that will help young learners develop early literacy skills, along with social, emotional, motor, and cognitive skills. So we all know that between the ages of 3 and 5, children learn foundational skills that remain with them for the rest of their lives. And those who receive a high quality, well-planned preschool education are better prepared to academically meet the demands of formal schooling. So today my goal is to empower you as the educator, and you will be equipped with ideas and techniques to build a strong foundation in each of your children so that they truly become confident, skilled writers. So for today, more specifically, you'll receive a brief introduction to the Get Set for School pre-K curriculum. We will talk about the components of a good learning environment and review the developmental stages of learning. We'll then dive into foundation skills and pre-writing development, followed by strategies for teaching grip, so pencil grip and crayon grip, and then the importance of coloring. We will then transition into the actual handwriting process and provide you with teaching strategies for writing that are age appropriate for little learners. And then lastly, we'll review supporting resources available to both educators and parents alike. So at Learning Without Tears, our mission is to make learning effective, gratifying, simple, and fun. We provide research-based multimodal instructional methods that help all children of all abilities learn, grow, and succeed. Our focus today will be centered around how you can facilitate pre-writing development while focusing on a child's need to play and explore. I will teach you about the benefits of coloring, of drawing shapes and creating letters and numbers using multisensory activities from our Get Set for School program. To give you a bit more context, Learning Without Tears analyzes the skills that children need for kindergarten and then planned a curriculum that fosters the development of those skills developmentally through singing, building, coloring, playing, and of course, hands-on learning. The research-based Get Set for School pre-K program combines purposeful play with multisensory experiences, creating a joyful, hands-on learning environment. We use a developmental progression that builds on prior knowledge, a friendly voice that connects with children, age-appropriate lessons that break difficult concepts into simple tasks, and materials that entice children to learn in a hands-on, multisensory way, which reaches all learners of all abilities. We've taken all the key learning domains that children are expected to learn and developed an integrated, multisensory, and developmentally friendly curriculum. So it's about reaching every child, understanding where they are in their learning progression, and helping to facilitate skill development and empowering them to be curious learners. The Get Set for School pre-K curriculum is complete with manipulatives for playful hands-on learning. We also include activity books. We have a literacy collection and digital instruction that makes learning fun and engaging, plus it makes it easy for teaching and connected for you as an educator. Our curriculum suits a wide range of children and adapts to changing needs as they grow. It acknowledges what all great educators know and research supports, that learning needs to be joyful, child-friendly, and active. We believe in meeting children where they are and then giving them the experiences that they need that will enable them to blossom as they learn. We build skills in delightful ways, but also carefully, deliberately, and one step at a time. This is truly designed to unlock every child's potential that is unique to them. So now let's talk about components included in a good learning environment, and this is very important at this point in time. So today we're seeing various types of learning environments, ranging from teachers and students being together in a classroom with a modified type setup, to teachers being in their actual classroom with children distance learning from a remote location, to both teachers and students engaging via a digital format of some form. So regardless of where you were teaching, remember that your classroom environment reflects many things about your teaching. An environment where children can easily locate items and know what comes next in the day and understand why they're participating in various activities provides structure and builds security, which will foster effective learning. A cheerful, well-organized classroom helps you to teach effectively. Plus, for those of you with students physically with you, it allows the children in your classroom to easily access toys and materials that will help them grow and learn. Now, for those children who are learning remotely, your environment around you as you're teaching provides them and their adult helper with visual guidance so that they can stay on track with your instruction. So next, let's go into, here's some classroom management organizational tips that I'd like to share with you. So here, first of all, use dedicated shelving. Maximize your shelving space. Shelves are a great way to organize your classroom with instructional materials. We recommend that you dedicate a shelf for each of the learning areas that you're going to cover throughout the day. So for example, you can label them too with language and literacy, numbers and math, oral language, science, what have you, and then arrange instructional materials accordingly. Next, create a routine to make the day predictable for you and your children and their adult helper if they're learning remotely. So determine what learning area you're going to begin with and when to teach each one during the day. Consider giving children a daily schedule, whether that's through a visual model or a written model or a sequence of activities for that visual reference to help them with time management and help them understand your expectations for them throughout the day. Next here, we have divide and conquer. So think about this. Several activities may begin as a whole group, especially when the multisensory instruction involves music or introduction to a new learning concept. But most learning will occur naturally in small groups, teacher-led centers, whether that is in person or virtually. So if you're in person, establish free play centers for children to play with puzzles or color, build with blocks, etc., while you're teaching small groups with the direct instruction in a teacher-led type facilitated center. If you're teaching in a virtual environment, provide families with free play activity items and designate time for this type of exploration in conjunction with your direct instruction. Next, we use teaching tables. So if you're teaching in person, Choose a specific table where you provide the teacher-led center and remain consistent with that so children become familiar with it. There may be another table like this if you have a teacher's aide in the classroom or other adult helper, but it's important that you keep all the other tables as child-led center. This predictability helps children learn and manage expectations. Then next, we want to plan ahead. So look at each of the lesson plans for the day. Gather the materials for your learning area shelves. Remember, the more organized you keep those areas, the more efficient you'll be at finding the correct materials. Make sure you have any additional support needs, whether that's visual or physical items, ready for your lessons so that your instructional delivery flows seamlessly throughout the day. And that would apply whether you're in a virtual or an in-person type setting. Then next is your daily schedule. So think about this. Your classroom schedule should be consistent and provide time for activities in various groupings. Lessons should alternate the level of physical activity involved as much as possible. So for example, if one lesson requires sitting and doing something while children are sitting, the next should involve a lot of movement. So alternating that to give children those posture and freedom breaks is important. And then rotate the learning areas and allow 10 to 15 minutes for each learning area, equaling a total of 1 hour for all areas. And then transition tips here. Classroom environments with positive transition activities assist children with learning daily routines and rules while lessening potential behavior-related issues. Transition activities are easy to incorporate by using fun, interactive songs and chants between activities throughout the school day. We want teachers and their students to get the absolute most out of each day by providing 2 types of centers, and those are teacher-led and child-led. So in the teacher-directed centers, these centers require a teacher or other teaching adult to be present to facilitate the instruction. We suggest you set up your classroom to include 1 or more of these centers where children will know that a teacher or other adult will be present and directing that instruction. Make sure your children are situated so they can easily see and hear you. And it's also important that children can easily participate in the activities during these group exercises. So if you're teaching in a virtual environment, please make sure that you send your families the lesson plans in advance so that they can make sure they have all the materials ready for their child to participate in any virtual groups or small groups that you may be holding. Then in terms of child-led, think of this as exploration and discovery play. These centers could also be called free play centers. They are designed for children to explore and interact with their peers as they discover and learn new concepts throughout play. These could be at a table. They could also be on the carpet or other designated section of a classroom. Some examples here, like think about dramatic play centers with kitchens, so children can role play kitchen, garages, stores, those types of things with related play materials, providing large spaces for independent self-directed play and learning, and sensory or art centers such as easels and sand or other water type exploratory activities. Now, for those doing remote learning, this same concept may be implemented in small group breakouts with video and audio. So, children can have an opportunity to learn with virtual socialization and interact with their peers in that manner. So now let's move on to our review of the developmental stages of learning. So interestingly, we naturally do things developmentally with babies. If you think about it, we'll tend to feed a baby before we give them a spoon. We roll a ball to a baby before we throw it to them. However, when it comes to writing with young children, why do we expect children to write their names before they can color? It's just one of those things. We expect them to hold a pencil or even recognize letters before we've taught them. So it's similar to putting them on a 10-speed bike before they even learn how to ride a tricycle and master that. And so when we think about writing, we need to understand that children learn in stages when they're ready. When we teach developmentally, children are more likely to develop a love of learning and flourish. So let's break this down a little bit more, and we'll start with social emotional development, which is one of the most important skills children need to develop, especially at this day and age. Okay, so social emotional development. Preschool or pre-K is typically one of the first places where young children learn to act independently in the world without the support or supervision of a family member. They'll make new friends, they share toys, they wait their turn, they learn to resolve conflicts and decide between right and wrong and regulate their emotions. So the bottom line is there's a lot of new learning that happens at this critical age. So it's up to you as an educator to make this learning feel safe and easy. Children need to feel accepted and have reassurance, which reinforces a sense of belonging. There are many creative ways to support a child's social emotional development, with the first being to welcome them into a new classroom community, whether that is in person or virtual. So you'll spend the first few weeks of school helping children learn to take turns, learn to listen, participate, and follow a routine. Some social skills will naturally develop, while others will need to be modeled and taught. It's important to provide a safe place for children to discover and learn. Remember to establish the routines, teach transitions, and then lastly, model appropriate behavior by showing children how to help others, how to pass and share, how to take things out, put them away, which are important life and social skills. Now, we know that social emotional learning involves so much more than teaching in a thematic type unit. It's important to integrate social emotional learning daily throughout the entire school year. So for instance, reading a book focused around social emotional learning each morning for at least a week during circle time or in morning meeting, then discussing it is a great way to set the tone for the day and be mindful, identify feelings, develop coping strategies, which are all very, very important skills. So really the learning opportunities are truly endless. And this leads me to play, which is an important part of learning and should be a large part of every day, not just for a reward. So play is full of spontaneous and meaningful learning. It gives children an opportunity to practice what they've learned and observed, especially in the social emotional domain. They will imitate family members or teachers and community workers as they try on different roles and figure out how the world works. So build skills such as listening and turn-taking subtly into your routines and activities. Oftentimes, like snack times or meal times, tend to offer lots of opportunities to help or to share or to practice manners. Group discussions and circle time are perfect times to practice waiting for a turn. In fact, research tells us that in pre-K, dramatic play can be a social experience where children agree on a play topic and mutually develop rules. In fact, involvement in mature dramatic play is associated with higher literacy abilities, self-regulation, oral language skills, and later school achievement. So choose materials or props thoughtfully and plan plenty of time for play throughout the day. Now, feel free to get involved in the play, in the child's play, but try not to direct the play. Instead, support children as they work together to decide on play topics or to share toys or to try out new social situations. Part of playtime should be question-free exploration, so resist the urge to ask questions and just let them go. So in summary, play is one of the very best activities for social emotional development. It is so simple and highly effective, and you'll probably have a hard time getting children to stop playing because they love it so much. So now we'll move into the stages of learning for writing. So here I want you to think about two different puzzle pieces here, and we'll talk about what should be happening now and then ahead and what's to come. So first, in pre-instructional, what you see here on the left-hand side, readiness includes all of the many activities that develop skills. So pre-instructional readiness activities promote fine motor skill development, promote drawing, coloring, alphabet knowledge, pre-writing, and we'll get into that, writing, number, and counting skills. Then next we have instructional stages. So think about these two. So while pre-instructional stages will continue, all of those readiness activities will continue into kindergarten, formal handwriting instruction will actually begin in kindergarten. And our instruction follows three simple steps here. First, you imitate the teacher, then you trace a model, and then you copy a model. Even emergent writers follow these three stages as they learn to trace letters and start to write their names. So let's take a closer look here. So in the first stage that you see, this is direct instruction. In this stage, you as the teacher are providing direct instruction to the child. The child sees the motions as you write step by step. The child hears the directions that you say. Then next in stage 2 is tracing. This stage is when a child looks at the model of a letter and then traces over it. Then last, stage 3, is where you provide guided practice and you monitor as a child looks at a completed model and then they trace over. And let me back up. That could be a model of a letter or a number or even their name. And then they trace over it and then they can copy it to match that model. Okay, so now that we've covered the developmental stages, let's go right into foundation skills. So we're going to start into this pre-instructional readiness piece. So this is where we'll go into greater detail in the pre-instructional stage of what involved in readiness and the building of strong foundation skills for a successful learning experience. So first off, let's talk about music. Music can encourage active learning. In fact, according to the National Association for the Education of Young Children, exposure to music during the early years enhances the learning process by promoting language development, creativity, coordination, and social interaction. So music is fun. As we all know, children love to sing and dance and play instruments. This encourages language development, coordination, and socialization. Rhyme, rhythm, and movement in a song also help children and adults to remember many songs. So plus, it can be beneficial as you introduce new concepts or reinforce learned concepts. Music will help you connect with children that you're working with, whether that's in a virtual environment or in person. So it's important to infuse your instructional day with this powerful tool of music to engage your students in the learning process. So next we'll talk about directionality and prepositions. So you may be thinking to yourself, why do we need to go over this and how does it relate to foundation skills for writing readiness? Well, here's why. If you think about the time you asked the child to start writing at the top of the page and they started maybe in the middle, or the time you asked the child to stand beside another child and they have no idea what the word beside meant or where to go for that. We give these directions to kids all the time, yet how is a child supposed to know these important directional terms and positional cues if we don't teach them? Children need to learn simple position words such as under and over, up and down, top and bottom, along with learning how to move and place objects in space. Children need to be able to quickly and easily understand where the top, middle, and bottom is before they can learn how to write their letters and numbers. In the Get Set for School pre-K program, we use these 4 simple wooden pieces to help children learn and teach, where we're teaching and reinforcing directionality and prepositions, but we're helping them learn these basic strokes, what become their strokes for writing letters and numbers. We use these same wood pieces, big line, big curve, and little curve, with sorting activities, stacking activities, building patterns. All kinds of different hands-on learning is involved with these to help children develop visual memory of what these shapes are, so that then when these instructional cues are given when forming letters, they have an idea of what that looks like and knows what it means, and then they can put pencil to paper. Our wood pieces are used in many songs on our different music CDs that we have, as well as we have these digitally as well from our different music albums, and they're also used in capital letter play activities. So now we'll move along to a key foundation skill of drawing. Children are artists who are joyful expressionists. Drawing begins early, and if you think about it, little ones even making marks in their food or finger painting. But it's important to provide children with opportunities to draw expressively, where they experiment with various ways to move and produce marks on paper or whatever medium they're working with. Give them the opportunity to learn to draw figuratively by making recognizable faces and people, animals, shapes, simple pictures, to then drawing creatively, where you'll see this evolve by allowing the freedom to add personal elements to shapes or pictures. Just as there's a developmental order for imitating and copying shapes, there's also an order in which children develop drawing skills. So children typically move in stages where they start with scribbles and continuous strokes. They progress then to drawing intentional figures with recognizable features, and then their drawing will evolve into drawing more dimensional type figures from that point. One teaching strategy in particular that we have involves learning our beloved pre-K superhero we call Matman, that you can see here on the screen. He was created to help children learn how to draw a person with recognizable body parts. And then through various activities, he helps children transition from abstract expressive drawing into figurative drawing. But children also learn body awareness, body part orientation, and number sense while engaging in cooperative play. So now on to our key foundation skill of alphabet knowledge, which is every single thing about letters that isn't writing. It is singing, it is speaking, matching, sorting, and naming. These activities are not dependent on a child's ability to hold or manage a writing tool. This is active and hands-on. In fact, alphabet knowledge is the leading predictor of reading development. One must have an understanding of letters to learn to read and write. And alphabet knowledge develops in stages, and it starts with singing the ABCs. Then, as alphabet knowledge grows, children expand their sight letter repertoire and learn to name letters in any order. Children will begin to recognize letters in their environment and in their name. They may see a picture or a symbol and be able to identify letters. Children often identify capital letters even before lowercase letters. And then lastly, they'll learn to match capitals with their lowercase partner. In the Get Set for School pre-K program, we use the ABC touch and flip cards for building alphabet knowledge with our focus on the key skills of capital and lowercase letter recognition, capital letter formation, and reinforcing letter memory. One of the first activities used is for children to build the animal puzzle that you see here, which can be done even before children recognize their letters. They simply just put the animal pieces together. Plus, the cards are divided into 3 sections that you can see color-coded to help teach the concept of beginning, middle, and end. After building alphabet knowledge, we'll move into pre-writing activities. Next here that you see, so writing skills, if we think about this depends on instruction. Without instruction, children improvise, which leads to the drawing of letters in all sorts of ways, which reinforces incorrect formations, resulting in poor habits. This can have a negative effect later in school when writing demands and expectations increase. So let's learn more about how you can meet children where they are and get them ready for handwriting in a hands-on letter play type of way. So research has shown that the most effective way to develop readiness and beginning handwriting skills is through playful, developmentally based approach. This active approach is easy and fun for both your students and you. And during participation in pre-writing activities, children are imitating teacher movements, they're following directions, they are building letters step by step and learning proper orientation of letters. They're also developing good bilateral coordination and fine motor skills. So their alphabet knowledge is growing and being reinforced. They're using associated vocabulary and position words that they've learned all while building letters. So this is a concrete hands-on experience. And we know that by providing concrete experiences, you will improve each child's ability to connect with concepts being taught, which will facilitate the acquisition of a skill. It will promote effective memory retention and improves the ability to recall that information. If you can determine how a child learns best, you will drastically increase their ability to make connections with the topics being taught. Have fun with multisensory activities. This is active learning. Use things in the classroom. Encourage families to use things at home, such as finger paint, sand tables, dough, just different hands-on experiences. Organize children and expand their learning capabilities through structured letter building activities. Address all styles of learners in your classroom at the same time. Provide opportunities for children to experience letters and numbers in a different way. Every child, and we all are this way, we all learn differently. Allow children to move and touch and feel and manipulate real objects as they learn habits and skills essential for writing readiness. And know that through providing these multisensory experiences, you will spark students' enthusiasm, increase their participation, and improve skill retention. So to our next section here of teaching grip. In this age of technology, it seems that children have less and less experiences with resistive play types of toys, which is affecting, we see this, it's affecting a child's ability to hold a writing tool correctly. So simply put, children need to participate in activities that boost fine motor development so their hands are ready for holding a crayon and they can meet the demands of their academic demands as they get older. So let's learn a little more about this. Now, research tells us that 50% of 3-year-olds have the fine motor ability to hold a small crayon correctly, meaning small in diameter. So this means that we can start teaching grip through demonstration by providing correct writing tools and providing mastery opportunities throughout the day. Now, handedness, this is something I get asked a lot, but it's common for 3 and 4-year-olds to switch their hands during tasks, as true hand dominance typically establishes itself between the ages of 5 and 7. So when you want to look at hand preference, look at things like what hand does the child zip their jacket up with? What hand do they pick up a cup with or throw a ball? So if you present an item to a child directly at midline, with which hand do they reach? So when you notice that and once you've determined which hand is preferred, you can encourage this one to be the more skilled hand. Use that skilled hand during coloring, drawing, and pre-writing activities. And lastly, make sure that you, as the teacher, are modeling correct finger placement on a tool. Children are watching every single thing that you do, so we have to be mindful as adults to make sure we're modeling appropriate grip on a tool in this learning stage. So with regards to proper grip, here are the 2 efficient grip patterns that are acceptable. So first in the top that you see here, this is the tripod grip. This grip uses 3 fingers to hold the writing tool. And then the one below is an alternate grip that's also acceptable. And you may see children use this grip. You may even use it yourself where it uses 4 fingers on the writing tool, which actually gives a little more stability in the hand. So either one is fine. However, when we're teaching grip, we want to start teaching the tripod grip, which is the first one. So when working with little ones, when they're learning how to grip a tool, we want to facilitate that development and show them how their fingers go on the writing tool. We start by teaching children finger placement.
Miss Susan?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, the audio went off and now it came back. You can go on, sorry.
Okay. So here we're get right back up to speed. We're talking about efficient grip patterns here, and we're talking about teaching the tripod grip, which is the one up top. So when we're working with little ones here and using small tools, we want to teach them where they put their fingers on the tool, give them practice opportunities to do that, and each little finger has an important job to do so that they can reinforce muscle memory and reinforce learned concepts so that this becomes an automatic natural skill for writing, just like you do now when you pick up a pen or a pencil. You don't think about where to put your fingers. So we're building a motor plan for this. So it's very important to give children the opportunity to do this. And part of this involves using little tools for little hands. So these are the perfect size for little hands, and you can see the picture of the crayon in the child's hand there. It's small, and it's small in diameter. It is small in length. And we do this intentionally because if we think about it, around 18 months of age, children develop the ability to pick up little objects in their hands, like raisins, those kind of small little things. When we put a large tool in their hand becomes a big fisted grasp around it. So if we keep everything small, they're able to approximate and get their little fingers around the tool appropriate. So through direct instruction, we can help children get their fingers positioned correctly, then engage them in various activities to build muscle memory, strength, and endurance as they progress. Also, too, it's in closing out this section, remember that there are so many amazing little items to use both at home and in the classroom to boost fine motor development. Get children's hands ready for holding crayons. They have to use scissors, manage clothing fasteners or food and drink packages. By doing activities like bead stringing, even hiding objects in dough and letting them sift through and pinch and pull to find those items. Using different tools like tongs or squirt bottles can strengthen anything resistive in the hands, will strengthen the little muscles in their hands to help children manipulate their clothing fasteners and hold writing tools and engage in different activities that require dexterity and finger isolation. So now that we've reviewed grip, let's move on next into coloring. Coloring plays an important role in child development and in school readiness. When children color, they learn about form, size, shape, and direction. They learn how to recognize and name colors. And coloring is also social. Children may want you to color with them or even on their page with them. But it's important to remember that seeing how you move the crayon will then help them. So again, it's important that we're mindful of how we're role modeling for a child in this type of activity. Get Set for School uses a scaffolded strategy in our My First School Book activity book called Aim and Scribble, then Aim and Color, and then finally Aim and Trace to teach crayon skills. So this strategy that you can see is purposely designed to help children pick up a crayon, hold it with the correct grip, aim and place it on the paper, and then move the crayon to form strokes. So children will progress step by step and go from using a crayon to making marks on the paper to fill-in coloring, which encourages children to stay within a certain area and use back and forth, up and down, around, side to side types of strokes, to making strokes in isolation, which is the precursor to writing letters. Furthermore, coloring facilitates the development of emergent writing by addressing attention span, coordination, crayon grip, motor control, and stroke formation. So take a look here at the picture of the cow. I love this picture. It's a good illustration. So notice the vertical lines on the cow. There's horizontal lines. There's diagonal strokes on the cow. And if we think about it, letters are made of these exact same strokes, just made in isolation. So coloring is a great pre-writing preparation activity to facilitate stroke development, which now takes us into the handwriting process. Research states that emergent writing development is a vital foundational skill that is often overlooked. Handwriting is a critical link to early literacy instruction, and early writing supports a child's acquisition of alphabetic knowledge and application of phonemic awareness. So let's dive into the handwriting process a bit more. Now, child development experts have shown that children learn designs in this predictable order that you see. Get Set for School, pre-K, teaches capital letters in groups based on this particular developmental sequence. So considering that the vertical stroke is integrated first and the diagonal stroke is integrated last, we teach children to form capital letters like L and E first before we're expecting them to write a capital A or a Z. Also, research supports teaching capital letters first with handwriting instruction, as it is shown that children begin with controlled scribbles, transitioning to lines and circular strokes, then capitals, and then lastly, lowercase letters. The way in which children grip a crayon or pencil, the strokes and shapes that they make, and the instruction that they receive depends on their developmental stage of writing readiness. So here, let's look here at a 2-year-old. So this child uses all fingers to hold the crayon in the palm of the hand. The helper arm or hand is in the air due to excitement and anticipation with no purposeful use at this point. The 2-year-old will make incidental marks on paper and scribbles. So next, you want to teach this child how to make vertical lines and horizontal lines. So here with our 3-year-old, this child, you want to start thinking about teaching correct grip. The crayon's still in the palm, yet there is emerging use of the helper hand. So this child will experiment with putting their hand on paper to hold the paper when they're coloring or drawing. The 3-year-old becomes more interested in coloring, and the 3-year-old is typically able to copy lines down and across. So next you want to show this child how to make a circle and an intersected cross there. Now with your 4-year-old, a mature grasp emerges, but notice that the elbow is lifted off the table. This child still uses what I call arm writing, And at this stage, a child copies a vertical and a horizontal line. They're usually able to copy a circle and a cross. So you want to show this child next how to make a square and a triangle. Also show them how to trace letters and numbers. A great activity, in fact, stencils are a great activity to encourage helper hand and hold the stencil while holding the paper, and continue teaching grip so that you'll see success then at age 5, which takes us here. Here is our 5-year-old. At this stage, mature grasp begins to integrate with handwriting, where now the arm is resting on the paper. The helper hand is used consistently and purposefully. So the 5-year-old is able to copy lines, circles, crosses, squares, and triangles. They will progress to drawing these shapes independently. So as the next skill, a child begins to draw a diamond or a rhombus, and then they will learn to write letters and numbers and continue with free exploration and drawing. So now let's go specifically into writing. With regards to capitals and shapes, Get Set for School teaches children to write these in groups based on the developmental sequence founded in research. By learning easiest formations to hardest, students will master letters quickly and have that strong foundation for writing. So through following this particular teaching order, you can combine alphabet knowledge and phonemic awareness into your lessons, yet stay organized by having a set sequence to follow. So remember, building on prior knowledge. So considering that capitals are developmentally easier than lowercase letters, most young children naturally begin writing capitals as their first recognizable letters. A strong foundation with capitals is the key to both alphabet knowledge and the skill of handwriting. Plus, when a child learns capital letters first and learns them well, they have many advantages, one of which is the avoidance of capital and lowercase confusion. We also teach capitals first because they're easy to recognize and identify. Look here, all capitals start at the top, so they all have the same type of starting place, whereas lowercase letters have different points. They all occupy the same vertical space, and they're all the same size. If you look at that in comparison, look at lowercase letters, you notice different sizes. Some have different starting points. For instance, like just compare the difference between like lowercase a to lowercase b. They start in 2 different places. They also occupy different vertical spaces. So A is in a different space than B is, than for example, G. And these can be easily confused with kids. So we want them to master the easier capital formations first before they learn and transition to lowercase letters. Now, with regards to lowercase letters, the Get Set for School lowercase teaching order promotes good habits and proper letter formation, which leads to writing success. This is done by grouping letters to facilitate a strong, successful start. So the first letters that you see here, I call them capital partners. They look just like their capital letter, they're just made smaller. And then the capital T, or the lowercase t, it looks like the capital T, it's just crossed a little bit lower. So we've also grouped letters by similarity of starting point and stroke sequence to teach correct letter orientation. This will help tremendously with especially like B and D, lowercase b and d confusion that we see. It helps prevent and eliminate reversals as well. So it's important that we take the time to teach children position and placement of the letters so that letters are in proportion, so that they're placed correctly when they begin writing on any type of lined paper. So now let's take a look at a multisensory activity that you can do to help children make this connection. So this is a fun activity we call the hand activity. As you know, lowercase letters aren't all the same size that we just saw on the screen before, like capitals. So children not only have to learn how to see these letters and recognize that they look differently or may look similar to their capital partner, but they also have to learn how to place them on lined paper when they get into elementary school. So the hand activity is a proven method to help children develop this understanding. And this activity was designed to help children understand letter size and then placement prior to transitioning to even writing letters on paper, on lined paper. So if you look here, the little diagram here, you see a fisted hand with an index finger pointing up or extended represents your tall letters and also capital letters like the B or the D, the F, the H, letters like that. Then just the fisted hand like this represents small letters like letters C, E, or I. And then a fisted hand with a thumb pointing down represents descending letters. So you'll want to encourage children to say the words small, tall, or descending as they represent each lowercase letter using their hand. So they're essentially pointing to where the letters belong in space when they're writing, and that transitions onto lines. So as a supporting extension to the hand activity, you can reinforce lowercase letter size, position, and placement through this multisensory hands-on activity while boosting alphabet knowledge and phonemic awareness. So this is the magnetic lowercase and blackboard set, which is designed for children to place magnetic letters on lines, help them understand how lowercase letters can be small, tall, and descending. So take a look too, there's little magnetic hands that even go on the blackboard with that. And then as this activity is going on, children will move their own hands to show capital letters, small, tall, and descending lowercase letters. So some other activities you can do both in person and virtually are, for example, learning names. So demonstrate a child's name using the different hand positions. Ask children to demonstrate their own name using hand positions. Make sure that they start with the extended capital hand and then use either the small, tall, or descending hand position to represent each letter. Provide the visual model for them on the magnetic lowercase and blackboard set as they engage in this activity. Next, have fun with the alphabet. Sing the alphabet song slowly as you point to the lowercase letters, so that's developing visual memory and alphabet knowledge. Children then hold up their hand to represent whether it's a small, tall, or descending lowercase letter as they're singing through the alphabet. You can use this with a wall chart or wall cards that go across the top of your board, or even the ABC touch and flip cards. And then lastly, word fun. Have children represent each letter within a vocabulary word as you're building oral language skills. So now we'll look specifically at skill application and how this ties all together in writing. So in pre-K level, children learn writing habits like how to hold a crayon, how to write their letters, and writing habits are easy to remember and will set them up for success in their academic career and beyond. Give children the opportunity to show what they know. Allow children to focus on writing strokes, starting and stopping and making strokes in the correct order. Use teaching vocabulary that reinforces skills or concepts previously taught. Give children enough space and freedom to make the page their very own, and facilitate a good learning environment for written expression. Now, Get Set for School has developed the unique gray crayon stroke because we found that the typical dot-to-dot exercises found in some workbooks are ineffective. And here's why. So you can see here the model here on this screen with the gray crayon stroke on the left-hand side. Children are able to see this entire letter, or the letter in its entirety when they're looking at it. Whereas then on the dot-to-dot example, oftentimes we see that children visually track from one dot to the next versus seeing the letter as a whole. So it's a great technique for them to develop visual memory and have the visual closure of a letter as they're in this learning stage. Also, when children trace the gray crayon stroke with a color, the underlying gray disappears and children are very proud of their work. So now on to name writing. So for a child, learning to write their name is a big deal. This is personal, it is unique to them. And just like learning capital letters, children need to be shown how to write each letter in their name. So have you ever struggled with finding the best way to write children or to teach children to write their name? You're not alone in this, and we see a lot of different things. So I want to point out a couple of things for you to think about. We often create worksheets on the computer or ask children to trace the letters of their name. But remember, without direct instruction, children can trace wrong and certainly copy wrong. So as you can see here, this is a dot-to-dot example that is certainly not helpful for Sophia learning to write her name. And neither is just that repeated practice. So there is a better way. So remember that developmentally, it's easier to begin with capitals. So here's how we recommend you begin. So with capitals and with teacher demonstration, child imitation. Make exceptions to teach letters of a child's name out of the recommended developmental teaching order. Children are motivated by the letters of their name, and as teachers, we want them to write their names early in the year. So for developmental order, teach children's names in all capitals in preschool, then transition to the name and title case at the end of preschool. Children won't always write in capitals, but it's the best way for them to start so they have immediate success, and explain that there are two ways to write their name. So you have the capitals way and then the capital and lowercase way. So show them so that they learn to recognize and read their name in both ways. It's important to provide instruction for name writing through teacher demonstration and student imitation, where students may trace or even copy letters in his or her name. You'll know when a child is ready to transition from writing his or her name in capitals to lowercase when they can form all the capital letters starting from the top and with correct formation. So we round out this section, I'd like to share one last teaching tip about how to help children learn their capital letters and lowercase letters. Children need to be familiar with how English is used in the world on signs, labels, in books, etc. So we recommend that you use all capitals for things like safety signs or chart headings. Remember, all capitals are sometimes used for names, especially when children are first learning how to form their capitals. So once they transition to title case, then you can show names in title case. So also use title case for proper nouns like days of the week, months of the year, book titles, so on and so forth. You can use all lowercase for different labels or word lists that you have within your room or teaching environment. The bottom line is by using a variety of environmental words in your classroom, along with providing a language-rich environment, you'll expand each child's world by sparking curiosity and creativity, which will point them towards discovery and promote success. So now let us move along into supporting resources we have available to educators and parents. Considering our current health crisis, Learning Without Tears has launched a site with specific resources to assist schools and families with distance learning support. We have provided access to our interactive teaching tools through our digital platform and other digital resources that are available here. We've included at-home learning packets that can be downloaded for families who are supporting their child with distance learning in the home environment. We have how-to videos, activity downloads, plus we're continually adding new tips for home learning and relevant articles for teachers to help minimize learning loss. So to learn more, you can visit lgbtears.com/programs/distance-learning. I'll leave that up here for just a second for you to get that. And also make sure and check there, because like I said, we're adding new things constantly to that site, which is important. And so in closing, I encourage you to use the information you learned today to increase the possibilities for all of your little learners. I appreciate your time and attention, and now I'd like to open the floor for questions and answer any questions you have. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Susan, for your wonderful presentation and ideas. As to the questions, I can see a lot of remarks that people, teachers, are thanking you for the presentation. They agree that a big percentage of your ideas can be implemented in the face-to-face classes with the students, but taking in consideration the current situation of COVID-19, they're wondering how can they work on the writing, improving writing skills and everything for students in hybrid learning.
So in that virtual, that's where we were talking about the classroom, your classroom environment, whatever that may be. It may be you in a classroom, what have you. Make sure you have materials and you're modeling for them. So it's important that the families know what you'll be doing in advance so that they can have their materials ready. And so we often, well, we'll see Some schools right now are getting our actual activity books and sending them home for the kids. With our digital platform, we also have got access digitally, so teachers can assign lessons to the kids while they're at home. And so they may be able to print out pages and work on that and then upload that for the teachers to see and check their work. They may use just paper at home and guide it. So whatever you're doing, you make sure you're modeling for the students so they see it and then they have the practice opportunity. And it's just as important to provide instructional language and those teaching concepts to the adult helper, whoever that may be. It may be a family member, it may be a friend helping, but to have those materials, I think prep work is going to be your number one successful key to do this effectively in a remote type learning environment. So it can certainly be done, but you have to think a little bit differently. We're all having to think a little differently right now.
Yeah, yes, I agree. Thank you very much for answering the question. They made a remark that in the current situation, the ministry gave parents the option whether to choose if you want to send your child to learn in the school face-to-face type of learning or keep him at home online. But both will be occurring same time, same moment. Mm-hmm. So the class, for example, is going to be divided 50 in the class and 50 at home. Both will be online same time. So the teachers, they feel a kind of, they're not being fair to those at home. They can give a better attention to the writing techniques and the position of the letter and giving remarks and supervising those in the class. What can they do to improve and give a better feedback for those at home?
So you know something, because we're experiencing
other than modeling.
Okay. One thing that we're seeing success with is, so okay, let me back up. When the students are in class, is the teacher live streaming for the kids at home too at the same time, right? Yeah. Okay. So what we are seeing is peer modeling too. So when we're thinking about engaging in a virtual platform, you know, there's something to be said for in person. I mean, there's that whole interaction and nonverbal communication that happens. However, we have found that with children who are in class, you set them up in groups, in virtual groups with the kids that are learning from a remote location. And there's peer modeling that can happen there and engagement and interaction, turn taking and all of that. So you can have them participating, and with the camera, they're able to show their work and participate and share ideas and talk with their friends even. You know, the whole too, especially my mind just goes back to social emotional development and how challenging I think that is, but this is such a critical age for it. And to be able for teachers to facilitate engagement at the same time while giving attention here in class to these kids, and they are having their learning opportunities, but then facilitating that and use your creativity to do the same in virtual small groups with engagement between the groups. And we're definitely seeing success with that. It's different than what we're used to, but the kids are very nimble and they are responding very well to that. So I would give that a go and see how that turns out for you.
One of the teachers asking whether you can refer them to a successful experiences on applying those kind of methods in the class, like links or videos online or.
You know, let me look, because I know on our blog that we've been doing on our distance learning site, on that blog, we have been posting in other schools that have started going back, have been posting success stories. So that's a takeaway that I can look up and perhaps send, and we can post it somehow with this presentation or something like that. But I would definitely check there. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know, like, even on our Facebook page, Learning Without Tears Facebook page, people are posting success stories. We even have teachers that have been posting little snippet learning videos of things they've been doing. Yes. For virtual and remote learning as just tips. It's like, hey, this worked for me. They're showing themselves doing lessons.
That's what I meant, sharing ideas and videos. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And some of the audience are requesting your email or communication. So we will try to facilitate this by the end of the meeting.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great.
So thank you very much. It was a wonderful presentation. Thank you for your time and feedback and input.
Absolutely.
Now that we have come to the end of our first day, of this forum. I would like to thank our 4 guests for the day for their valuable time and input. Mr. Sean Thompson, Mr. Richard Parrott, Professor Lee Akwa, and Ms. Susan Little. Thank you very much. I would also like to thank our committed and interactive audience. Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you for the Ministry of Education and our staff for organizing such an event, working on it to work smoothly. So looking forward to hear from you all tomorrow, inshallah. Be safe. Your host for the day, Asma Al-Khuzaimi. Thank you very much, everyone. Be safe.